Well, it's 4 o'clock. I believe our CEC is ready to go. You good? All right, thumbs up back there. We want to make sure that those who view these proceedings later have the full enchilada, as they say. We welcome everybody to this Board of Commissioners meeting in Washington County on April 6, 2021 at 4 o'clock. We welcome those who are joining us on Zoom, some which may be participating in the meeting, but certainly appreciate those who are looking in that way. We'd like to begin today by having an invocation by Michael Stevenson, who is of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, part of the Interfaith Council, I might add, I believe, which we greatly appreciate. Please take back to everyone involved our thoughts and for the many congregations that assist us. But also a role as Heritage Choir, and as you say, President? Vice President. Well, you have something to look forward to then. Appreciate you coming up and giving us our invocation.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we bow our heads before Thee this day to give Thee thanks for the bounteous blessings that we have. We pray that Thy Spirit will always be with us, that we may do things that Thou would be pleased of. We ask Your blessing upon this commission, that they will fulfill their roles as elected officials of this county and to do that which is best for the citizens thereof. We are grateful for this great land that we live in, and we pray for a blessing upon America. May she always be strong and brave. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Well, in a special treat today, we have Major Bill Stay, who is with the United States Air Force, retired. And luckily, we've had association for a long time from your group that has assisted us with Boy State, and personally my own son who attended, and we are so grateful for the two times. One, the time that everyone was introduced, and then a follow-up when Boy State was over. Thank you so much. If you'll care to lead us in our pledge, we would appreciate that, and please come to the mic.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your service as well.
Yes. Great. Wonderful to have you. All right, we begin with our consent agenda. It is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than requests to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is not debatable.
Very good. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent agenda consisting of A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payment for March 17th, 2021 through April 6th, 2021. B, consideration of regular commission meeting minutes of March 16th, 2021. C, consideration of administrative adjustments, real property. D, consideration of administrative adjustments, personal property. E, consideration of applications for property tax abatement, which there are 10. F, consideration of applications for payment plan to settle delinquent taxes, and there are 3 of those. G, consideration of approval and execution of amendment to the e-prosecutor license, maintenance, and support contract between Journal Technology, Inc. and the Washington County Attorney's Office, and the amendment to Justware contract. And item H, acknowledgement of publishing notice of adoption of ordinance number 2021-1172-0 on Saturday, March 20th, 2021. And that is my motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second Commissioner Iverson's motion.
That is the consent agenda with a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. unanimously passed. Our regular agenda items for consideration are as follows. We have a couple of presentations for longevity awards to make. But we see, Joel, you're here, and Abraham, Abe King is here. If you'd please come forward and say a little bit about your
Employee exemplar.
coworker. Yes.
He's
See, how many
awesome.
years? 10 years, all right.
10 years. I beat him by like a week or two.
That's fantastic.
Excited to have Abe here today. He is one of my great branch managers and does an excellent job. Talking to his staff, they're all just pleased to work with him. We had people driving from Hurricane before she retired to work in Santa Clara with Abe and didn't want to go anywhere else, no matter if there was another opening somewhere else. But he inspires that kind of loyalty with his staff. He's always up there at the desk working side by side with them, doing a great job and making things happen in Santa Clara. So I wish I had a lay for his Polynesian background, but we'll have to do with just the award.
Wonderful. Well, good. We'll come join you.
I just wanted to say a little bit. Cheyenne promised finger foods and party hats. That's how she got me here. But I appreciate the county and how the commission is so hands-on. I know Victor and Commissioner Cox from way back when. And a couple of years ago, I received an award from the Southern Utah Pacific Islanders Coalition with Susie over there. And Commissioner Cox and Commissioner Iverson were actually the ones presenting the awards. And there was all different categories and they presented the awards. But then when I received my awards, they actually had things to say about me because they're so hands-on. They knew about the different things that we've been doing here at the library. And I was proud of that fact and appreciative of all this that you all do for us. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right. Well, we had one other to give, but we want to make sure that we drag him out. He likes to hide, but we want to make sure that he's here when we actually give this one out. So, great. Our next item is purchase request from Ray.
Usually with it, but I thought you had one more. Okay. The first one I have here is for the fireworks for 4 nights at the fair. This is a total of $15,300. The next one is for stadium lights at Legacy Park. These are replacement fixtures for the existing light posts for the outdoor arena. This is a total of $44,492. The next one I have is for a 7x25 tilt trailer for $11,390, and then we're also purchasing a spare tire to go with it. And then we're trading in an old tilt trailer for $6,500, which brings our total to $5,058. The next one is for a CAT mini excavator, and with this, they're including 2 extra buckets. And that's for a total of $65,850. This purchase will be split between 3 different budgets for the Shooting Sports Park, Legacy Park, and building maintenance.
Okay.
The next one is for some HP workstation computers. These are replacement computers for the computer labs at the Washington, New Harmony, and Enterprise libraries. And that's a total of $31,495.80. And the final one I have is for the roads department. This is for the oil for the chipping projects this summer, for a total of $291,270. Unless there's any questions?
Well, I'm just glad they got that at a still good rate. It could easily be $50,000 more.
I'm constantly impressed that the most valuable asset the county owns is our road and infrastructure. It's just incredibly expensive to maintain and then to get it built out. Maintaining it is key, and so.
Yeah, and I think I can report firsthand to follow up with that, Commissioner Cox, is yesterday I went from Upper Sand Cove down to Gunlock, and that used to be a horrendous road. But 2 years ago, Dean and Ron White had all committed themselves. That is a beautiful road. And I think that anyone who travels it, I mean, you could take that in a Honda Civic and not, you know, totally tear it apart now, whereas you couldn't before. So he's done a great job on some of those roads. And if you recall, we had a big fire up there. And when you go along that road, you can see where the fire literally came up from the northwest side and stopped at the road. And where they were fighting it, you could tell. So having said that, yeah, it's money well spent. And
on this
appreciate that.
particular, speaking of the road purchase, we've had some comments on 91 and some of the gravel that's kicked up, and the road crew has been out there diligently sweeping that off. And this will be the oil that they'll use to go back in and redo it. They had some challenges with that when they redid it a few years
Size of the
ago.
chip
And so anyway, we have received several comments on that from some of our citizens out in Ivan, so they should be pleased that this purchase, it'll get smoother.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would go ahead and make a motion that we approve the purchase request as presented.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and question and a second. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray, for your work. Item number 3, consideration of ordinance number 2021-1174-0, an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 5, Section 1 of the Washington County Code and adding Title I, Chapter 15 of the Washington County Code to update open meetings requirements for electronic meetings. Brian.
All right, Commissioner. So, as you know, COVID-19 kind of changed a little bit with how we run our open meetings, and there was an executive order issued by the governor roughly a year ago allowing more flexibility with electronic meetings and allowing the boards, the public bodies, and the public to attend meetings via electronic means. The state legislature also updated some of those requirements and loosened those requirements. So this code is for the county to adopt to kind of recognize some of those changes, mostly dealing with circumstances where a member of the commission or, well, so this has two contemplations. One is for the county commission specifically. The other one is for other county boards and committees and public bodies, that this would recognize and authorize them to allow electronic meetings, either for a board member to participate electronically, or in the event that we have no anchor location, that the public can participate electronically, or other circumstances where we just may allow the public to participate electronically. So that's kind of what this contemplates. If you have any questions.
This then makes our county code consistent with the state code and take advantage of all of the changes that the legislature made possible.
That's correct.
I think it has been interesting how the public has been able to adjust and participate. I think that will actually be something that comes out of this that's a positive. I do like the idea, even though this code change does allow us not to have an anchor location if necessary. But I think it's always good to have an anchor location and then use technology for people that might not be able to make it here. That's my preference but it is good to see that. I think it's important to update our code to reflect reality.
Is that a motion?
I think that is a motion it's made.
Do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second item number 3.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for consideration of the ordinance 2021-1174-0. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item 4, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2748, a resolution proclaiming and approving the adoption and celebration of Korean War Veterans Day. Susie Lafayette.
Hello, Commissioners.
Hi.
Last year in 2020, we recognized World War II veterans with the 75th anniversary of World War II at the Washington County Fair. This year, we are recognizing our Korean War veterans. It's often called the Forgotten War, and in the 213th out of Cedar City was an integral part in the Korean War from this area, and it took in the 213th from men from Richfield all the way down to St. George, and there were about 500 or so of these men who went and served in Korea, and every single one of those men returned home. So I think I'm tired, I'm really emotional, sorry. So this year we want to recognize those men that are still alive with a ceremony and a proclamation proclaiming April 15th as Korean War Veteran Day in Washington County.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
You must know someone.
No, I actually don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, we appreciate that, Susie, and you're caring so much to include them.
Thank you.
I think it was a great ceremony last year. It was actually quite sobering as we reflected on, how few veterans we had left. And I think about, my uncle served in World War II in the Navy and then came back as many did, and they joined the local National Guard. And then he was deployed to Korea. He was wounded in Korea. And so after he came back, he always did use a cane after that for the rest of his life. But it is interesting how I think Korea came so quickly after World War II, and many of the veterans of Korea were veterans of World War II.
They were. And we sent out invitations to almost 200 that had served in Korea for that ceremony, and we have about 30 who will be in attendance. A lot of them are at the veterans home and can't attend, but we're hoping for a pretty good turnout. We also will be showing a documentary that SUU has done about 10 or 15 years ago on the 213th called The Miracle at Cap Yong, and we'll be showing that various times throughout the county fair in the Harmony building, so people can sit down and watch and learn about the 213th Battalion from this area, the National Guard.
Susie, I think that is so awesome that you're calling attention out to service of these people, and in the twilight of their lives too, and they certainly deserve to have the recognition and for us to educate our children and grandchildren of the great sacrifices that have been made. So thank you for your effort.
I was thinking of a fun fact, Commissioner Cox and myself, and you remember when we went up to the test site in Hurricane, and they have that test site where they test different things, and they have to run it down a track at a real high rate of speed, and they're still using these Korean War rocket motors that I guess they have an abundance of, and so they just sitting there kind of watching an antique being attached to what was it? It was a big chair.
Big sleds. They were testing a parachute that we saw them do.
Yeah, well, you weren't the only one lighting things on fire and exploding them when you were a kid. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2728, a resolution proclaiming and approving the adoption and celebration of Korean War Veterans Day.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Motion and a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Susie.
Susie. Our next item, number 5, consideration of resolution R 2021-2749, a resolution approving Tourism Advisory Board recommendations for nonprofit marketing sponsorships and event funding. Hi.
Hello, Commissioners. How are you?
Great. Thanks. Very good.
So we had our February cycle of nonprofit event funding and marketing sponsorship applications. This year we didn't have very many in February. I think just with COVID, people are still a little bit hesitant to do events. Plus, we carried a lot of our events forward to this year. So we had 2 marketing sponsorship requests. The first one is from Silver Reef Museum, and they applied for $10,000, and they are going to use that to update the website and do some social media posting and boosting of some videos that they've created during the last year. And I had the opportunity to watch some of those videos, and they're great. They are really, really good. So they offer some take-along tours, basically, so they can be self-guided and whatnot. But their site needs to be mobile-friendly, so they're going to use some money to upgrade that and then to boost those videos. And then, so the tab recommendation on that was the full $10,000. And then the second is from Tuacahn. They requested $50,000 for marketing support for the 2021 theater season and also to celebrate their 25-year anniversary. And the Tourism Advisory Board recommendation was the full $50,000. And then we had one event funding application, and it was for the World Wakeboard Association, or an event they're going to do at Quail Creek in April. And they are looking for $5,000 in sponsorship, which the Tourism Advisory Board did recommend. Also trying to see if we can get an event next year in kind of more of an off-season, July or August, but they're actually considering doing a final this August at Quail Creek. So we're still kind of talking to them about that.
So when are they coming? What was the date?
April 23rd and 24th.
Do they know it gets hotter in the summer here?
They do know that, yes. So it could be interesting if they come back in August from April.
Yeah, they might enjoy it more.
They might. I would think so.
Well, they're wet and flying about 30 miles an hour, so it's not as hot.
Yeah, I guess so.
It'll be an interesting event. It'll be our first time hosting it. So
Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it at Havasu, and it's crazy.
Yeah, they do a lot of these regional events all over, and then their big finals are in major destinations, but they're considering bringing one here in August.
Wonderful. Okay.
Fantastic. Well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we adopt resolution number R-2021. Let's see, is this number right?
Yeah,
20.
number 5.
Okay, number 5. A resolution approving tourism and advisory recommendations for nonprofit marketing sponsorship and event funding. That's my.
And I'll second the motion.
Yes, and I'll draw attention to the 3 items and their amounts that are as part of the document. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item number 6, thank you, Brittany. Consideration of resolution number R-2021-2750, appointing board members to the North Central Fire Special Service District Administrative Control Board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to speak to this. This is a unique fire special service district in Washington County. This special service district surrounds the area of Enterprise. And for many, many years, the incorporated municipality of Enterprise just rolled their ambulances and fire trucks whenever they had any issues with their neighbors. But the unincorporated population started approaching the size of the incorporated population, and the city thought that it would be a little more equitable if their surrounding neighbors had an opportunity or a choice to participate financially. And so this district was created by the county commission, and it could go ahead and form a fire department if it wanted to, but it instead basically levies a tax on it that's the equivalent to what the Enterprise community residents pay, and it's worked out very, very well for very, very many years. And so I'd like to give that little report. And then this resolution, we've had a couple of losses to the board on it, and so I would propose that we appoint Joseph Stevenson and Travis Jolly with terms to expire on July 30th, 2025 to fill those vacancies.
And I will second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Wonderful. Motion and a second for that resolution 2021-2750. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Okay. Item number 7, consideration of resolution number R-2021-2751, appointing a member to the Justice Court Nominating Commission.
So
You can handle that,
yeah,
Brian?
Eric's not here. Asked if I would handle this one.
Sure.
So, there's a vacancy in the Washington City Justice Court judge position. The county is part of a group that creates a nominating committee to nominate a replacement judge. So the county is responsible for providing a person to be on that committee. The county felt like it would be important to have somebody with some prosecution experience to bring that perspective to the committee as they're contemplating and interviewing applicants. And so the county would propose Ryan Sham to fill that vacancy. He's got 25 years of prosecuting experience. He handles some of the most egregious and important cases in our office for prosecution purposes. So that'd be the recommendation to nominate Ryan Sham to serve a 4-year term in the event that there are other vacancies in other justice court judge positions in the next 4 years.
Very good.
And this committee is operated by the administrative office boards.
I don't know. I apologize about that. I think it's an interlocal. I think the county submits somebody. I think the municipality submits somebody, and I think there is a representative from the courts that also submits. I don't recall how many people are on.
And then they're a recommending body back to the
Washington City Council. In this circumstance, because that's where the vacancy is.
I think I recall as I became a commissioner, Commissioner Cox would remember that there was a vacancy in our justice court. This body made a recommendation, I believe, of 3, and we interviewed them as county commissioners and selected out of that selection. So, well, Ryan is very qualified, and so, Mr. Chairman, with that, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution R-2021-2751, a resolution appointing Ryan Sham to the Justice Court Nominating Commission.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second, and that runs out on December 31st, 2025, if this motion passes. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you so much for covering that, Brian. Tell Ryan the good news. He's got a great personality, and like you said, he handles the most difficult things, but doesn't seem to really affect his day-to-day. He's the life of the party.
He is lucky to be able to separate that out of his life.
Wonderful. Item number 8, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2752, approving Council of Governments recommendations. Victor.
Well, Mr. Chairman, as you are aware, the Council of Governments of Washington County is really made up of the Washington County Commission along with our mayors. And the real purpose of it is to help secure right-of-ways as they come available. And so we are asked to consider requests that come from the different municipalities and local governments. And then those requests are voted on by the Council of Government and then brought before the County Commission for approval. And so what we have in this resolution is approving what has already been voted on by the Council of Governments in regards to a request from Ivan City in helping them secure some funding for potential expansion on Highway 91. And that's what the resolution before us is approval of the Council of Governments recommendations to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any?
You can.
No. I was wondering if you wanted to add on to
speaking
something.
to it,
Yes.
and speaking very, very well to it, but I'd make a motion in support of that, and it's resolution R 2021-2752, and comment that part of the reason that comes back to the county commission is there's a $10 fee that comes out from license plate renewal that is put into this fund so that right-of-ways can be acquired before the property has a chance to inflate as much as it might otherwise do so. And
Which is
so
really difficult now to get ahead of that
really
inflation.
is a good strategy. So that would be my motion to accept resolution R 2021-2752.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman, and just make one point that the Clerk Auditor's Office, Kim Hafen and Susan Lewis, do a great job at basically helping with the Council of Governments and keeping the books straight. So if you have any real detailed questions, you can talk to Susan Lewis about it, because she knows all the answers to this.
Everyone. We have a motion and a second for item number 8. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Item number 9, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2753, a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation agreement between Washington County, Utah, Washington County School District, and the City of Enterprise for a high school resource officer. Okay, I was going to say, we have several here that could address this. Thank you.
Yeah, no, so just recently we looked at the operating costs of what it takes to have that SRO in that position as our contract is coming to a close, and we found we're operating below, we're operating above what that actual cost is. So what we did with this is took what the adjustment is, which is about $20,000 overall. I've contacted Larry Bergeson, superintendent for Washington County School District, and they will take on an additional $10,000. Contacted Mayor Humphreys with Enterprise, they will take on an additional $5,000, and then the sheriff's office will take on the last $5,000, and then any additional that would be added to that, just in the minor changes there. So that's the adjustment to the contract. Everybody seemed to be in favor up to this point. And so we just, on the back page, we've added a few other signatures. But otherwise, the contract looks just the same.
So that was my one question, because it was my understanding that we had a resource officer there.
Yes.
Just, it's not a new agreement, it's
No.
just a change in that.
Just a change in the amount of cost.
I did have to chuckle in one of the whereases. It lists, the county, school district, and city, and then parentheses parties. And I just thought, one of the reasons we have a resource officer just to make sure that we have only positive parties in Enterprise.
That's right.
So.
Hopefully it's working.
All right, well, very good.
Oh, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Lieutenant. I can also say that when I was on St. George City Council, we had a group of adults come in and say that they wanted to get rid of the resource officers at the high school. And I thought, why don't you have your kids come in here? We'd like to see if their pictures are hanging in the post office. Anyway, but having said that, I saw no motivation for taking the resource officers out of the high schools, and neither did the principals or teachers or anyone else who really valued their presence. So thank you for that. Is there a motion then for item number 9?
Let's see, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we adopt Resolution R-2021-2053, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, Utah County, Washington County School District, and the City of Enterprise City for the high school resource officer.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item number 10, resolution number R 2021-2754, approving an agreement between Washington County and Mountain Force MMA for a mixed martial arts event held at the Washington County Fair. Susie, are you going to show us some of the moves?
Yes. We, instead of boxing 2 nights, we usually hold boxing Friday and Saturday night. Because of the restrictions in Nevada and some of the other places where boxing is not, where they can't get out and box, we opted and decided to hold mixed martial arts on Saturday night. So we found this promoter. He's done an event before out at Legacy Park, actually in February, and he seemed pretty agreeable to help us with this event on Saturday night.
The event that they had in February was well attended, right?
They did it in the Grafton building. So they still had all of the COVID social protocols, and it was pretty well attended. Their ticket price, I don't know who would pay for ticket prices, but it was pretty well attended. Brian's just laughing at me.
Very good.
So what we do is Friday night we would just take out the boxing ring, and Saturday they'd bring in the cage, and the same place is where boxing will be held.
So how much is the ticket price, do you know?
$30.
$30.
Mm-hmm. I think 20, well, actually, I think 25. It competes the same night as the Derby, the Demolition Derby, and VIP tickets are 45.
So if you don't want to see anybody run into each other with their
With the car,
cars, you can just go over there and watch them each other.
head on
up in
over
their
to the
cage.
parking lot, to the cage. and then get some warm fuzzies at the petting zoo.
Yeah.
I mean,
The real mixed
So
bag.
Susie, can you remind us again when the date of the fair is?
yes, April 14th through the 17th.
And the weather, you've got that all taken
Yeah,
care
80
of?
Degrees.
Holy cow.
80 degrees, right? I mean, yeah. We
Better
we
be
picked a
careful
good-
or people are going to complain about the heat in April, you know?
At least it's not snowing, right? Like it
That's
is up
right.
north. So the parade again is on April 13th, the Tuesday before, Tuesday
And that will
night.
be in Washington.
Washington City, correct.
Well, based on the fact that she seems to have everything all lined up, including the weather and the parade.
But remember, we have Nicole as our backup for the
Okay.
weather.
I'd make a motion in support of resolution R 2021-2754, a resolution approving an agreement between Washington County and Mountain Force MMA for a mixed martial arts event held at the Washington County Fair.
I'll
on
second that
April
motion.
14th through 17th.
Yep.
I'll
And-
second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Thank you, Susie. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Unanimously passes. Item number 11 is consideration of resolution R 2021-2755, approving grant applications for Victims of Crime Act. I don't see Christie or Celinda here. Anyone familiar with that? Let me just say that as part of the VOCA grant that they receive, part of this resolution is simply to apply for additional funds and to make sure that the Children's Justice Center has some of their therapists and other activities covered. So,
And Mr. Chairman, the VOCA grant is one that we've participated in every year. So
all right, so I'm looking for a motion on item number 11.
I would make a motion that we adopt item number 11, which is resolution R-2021-2755, a resolution approving grant applications for Victim of Crime Act, or VOCA.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I will say the
Passes.
VOCA grant has a lot of paperwork involved with it. Very important grant, but there's a lot of times we sign or pass or vote on something.
Yeah, and you know, what's interesting is that the VOCA grant is actually getting smaller.
I know.
And with that in mind, a lot of the people think, well, that's just another thing we get from the federal government, et cetera. The reality is that's not taxpayer dollars, but those funds come from those who've been incarcerated and some sort of financial payment has been made so that they have to pass that on to a worthy cause, and Congress gave that money through VOCA grants to all sorts of things similar to the CJC across the nation. Anyway, the result is that they have not been incarcerating so many people because of COVID, and the monies coming in have not been there as in the past. So everything that we can apply for and justify, we need to do. And hopefully we'll get that without any sort of decrease in those funds. So, having said that, thank you for that motion. Item number 12 is...
Did we vote on it?
I don't remember. Did we vote on that?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I think we did vote on it. yeah.
Thank
I
you.
said aye.
Sorry. Okay.
That's all that matters. All right. Consideration of resolution R 2021-2756, a resolution approving an amendment to the agreement between Washington County Bones, Collins and Associates for the planning and design for rehabilitation of the Frog Hollow debris basin.
Let's see, I don't see Ron
I
here.
see Todd.
Oh, is
Yeah,
Todd
Todd's here.
Okay, very good.
Hello, Todd.
We're in the process of going through this. This is NRCS-funded environmental assessment on Frog Hollow debris basin. When they were out there looking, they were trying to find material to rebuild it. It's got some soil problems with the existing dam
Is this the one that sits up above Hurricane there?
of Hurricane, yes.
Gold Watch.
Not the Gold Wash one, but a different
Oh, is that?
debris basin. We're also doing a environmental impact study on the Gold Wash area also.
Okay.
This one's a little bit different. And so they couldn't find enough good material in the original scope. They did testing in 3 different areas. Only one of those areas had good material. So what this is going to do is expand that area of testing, go deeper and wider, see if they've got enough material to build that basin. So it'll give us a lot better cost estimate, give us a lot better confidence we can build that with the NRCS funding. Doesn't cost the county anything. The NRCS is already approved this, and so we just to revise the contract.
Great work. Mr. Chairman, I'd make if there aren't any other questions, I'd make a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2756, a resolution approving an amendment to the agreement between Washington County and Bowen Collins and Associates, Inc. for the planning and design and rehabilitation of the Frog Hollow debris basin.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And to note, Ron told me today that the NRCS is funding this, and 100%. So we can benefit from that. Okay, a motion and a second for item number 12. All in favor say aye.
Aye. I'd just like to acknowledge the NRCS is one of my favorite federal agencies. They have no regulatory power, and they just come and help us solve problems. That's what the federal government needs to do. Just don't have any regulatory power. Just come and help us solve our problems, and we can work together better.
Yes, and they do a great job, and their leadership recognizes our needs down here. I really emphasize what you just said. Item number 13, a resolution number R 2021-2757, a resolution expressing Washington County's interest in community theater. This is under my direction. This resolution is long. It has a lot of whereases, but it shows the value of both to our tourism and our local folks here. If you don't know what community theater is, anyone who's listening, it incorporates a lot of local talent, local leadership, and even though it does have a cost for a seat, it can't be, if anyone's attended, discounted in any way by the quality and the things that are done there. In fact, community theater is up close, and it's kind of fun when you actually go to something. This has happened to me where they actually expand out into the audience and include you. It's mortifying to think that you're going to go out and dance with no fair warning ahead of time and then be included in the production. That's kind of closeness that it has. Nevertheless, this has been under works for a long time, and I appreciate Brian helping with that. And we can read the resolution, but the 2 therefore clauses at the end are saying, it is resolved by the County Commissioners of Washington County that they express their interest in promoting community theater. And the other one is that the County Commissioners of Washington County, that they support a public-private partnership to converse with the performing arts community in establishing a place to perform.
Mr. Chairman, I did have to smile as I read the resolution. I think there's 33 whereases that extol the benefit of community theater. It almost made me regret not taking more acting classes. Well, actually, I didn't take any classes, but maybe I missed out on life, and I should have taken some of those classes. But I think in some of our conversations that we've had, this is just kind of to really acknowledge that the county is willing to discuss partnerships in this area. It really kind of allows us to have conversations with those partners prior to maybe bringing those details to before in our public meetings. So in my way, this resolution is really about kind of the public process that we as a county commission need to be involved in, even to kind of involve ourselves
Well,
in this
if the
conversation.
community knows that we're having these discussions, it gives them a chance to weigh in and visit with us.
Exactly.
And I'm impressed, though, that the arts have always had a place in St. George. I was thinking when they were at the Encampment Mall on the President Dixie State College campus and celebrating Christmas Eve, they were singing and playing their violins and fiddles, and I think they broke a bow string and had to figure one out. But the arts building that was built in the 1870s was one that came quickly because the community placed value on it. And so
Yeah.
I concur with your assessment.
Yeah, I wonder why they did that. I think maybe settling the area, they needed something to cheer themselves up with.
Yeah, probably.
Somewhere to go to laugh.
Exactly. So,
Well, it's like you said, Commissioner Iverson, it's a step in the pool. It's not a
Yeah.
complete splash dive or anything. It's gets some of the ball rolling and it shows interest. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'd make a motion in support of Resolution R2021-2757, a resolution expressing Washington County's interest in community theater.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Our next item, number 14, is a resolution, number R 2021-2758, approving support for applying for money from Utah Department of Transportation, their Transportation Investment Fund, commonly known as TIF.
Yeah, so we became aware of this opportunity last week, and it's a state legislature infused a one-time amount of money of about $35 million into UDOT's Transportation Infrastructure Fund, and this fund goes toward active transportation projects, so paved trail systems usually, and have to have a system that is regionally significant and has already been rated that way, and Washington County actually has 3. And the Zion Pathway, which will connect Laverkin to Springdale, primarily along Route 9, is nearing that phase of being ready to go for design and tying up the loose ends to construction. So this money kind of has a quick turnaround just to let the State Transportation Commission know that Washington County is interested in seeking funding through this, these one-time funds for this pathway, and that it is willing to meet a 20% match, and there's a variety of ways to do that, should any funds be awarded. And my understanding is the Transportation Commission will decide on the various projects in a couple months here.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, well, Leslie's to be congratulated on a lot of the things she's working with our other partners, because you can imagine it's hard enough for the COG to put a road through Washington County, let alone a trail.
Yeah.
And this will help immensely, not only in design and construction, but I think they understand that we're serious about it. And I would say most legislators in Salt Lake, if they haven't themselves been on some of our trail system down here in the county, they know people that have, and it's a real draw. So this would only be a further way to get from Zion to Laverkin, and then Laverkin to Hurricane, et cetera. The goal being is that you can go from Snow Canyon to Zion without getting on a road, except for maybe to cross it in a few places. So thanks to you, Leslie, for that.
You have a great paved trail system, and I know that there are counties up north who are wondering how our communities work together to do that, because they're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, very good. How many miles are we up to? 44?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. Sorry.
Well, the very first grant was called an ICE-T grant, and that was about 25 years ago. That built 1.5 miles of trail. That was the start. So it's great. It's up around 44 miles or something, and this would only enhance that much more. All right. Well, can we have a motion on item number 15?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we
Oh,
adopt,
sorry, 14.
14.
that we adopt item 14, which is Resolution R-2021-2758, resolution approving support for applying for money from the Utah Department of Transportation Investment Fund.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful, thank you. Item number 15 is consideration of Resolution R 2021-2759, a resolution approving authorization to proceed with an authorization to proceed letter to Watts Construction for design on the Washington County Administration building parking structure. To back up, and I think you commissioners remember that it was intended from the very beginning when we started talking about the new administration building that the need for a parking structure would rise quickly. And though there is some underground parking, by just building that building, we take up a lot of the existing parking that was around the old Zions Bank, et cetera, there. And so having that forethought, we included in not only the request for information and RFQs, and then eventually the RFPs from all the applicants, that they express their interest or ability or desire on a parking structure as well. It was part of that original request. And sort of considering it as an option to be exercised at some future date. Well, now we're 14 months down the road, and it became evident that it would be nice to know how much it cost and what a design would look like. And so the essence of this authorization to proceed, literally shown on the second page, shows two options for the design. And option number 2 would be not only to design a parking garage with covered rooftop deck and then also a garage tunnel for access between the two secured parkings areas, and furthering in that design of secured, what that means between both of the existing, of the future parking structure as well as the current new admin building under construction. So option 2 obviously gives us a bigger picture than option 1 alone, and that's the essence of this notice to proceed.
My comments on this is I think it should be included when we put the RFQ and RFP out and was seeking information. We hadn't worked through the permit process with the City of St. George yet. They've been wonderful to work with. They've allowed us to count some on-street parking and things like that. But still, we couldn't occupy one whole floor of the new building without coming up with additional parking. It will never be less expensive to build that parking than it will be now, and I'm convinced that the way that the federal government, frankly, has been spending money lately, that our dollar is going to become a little more valueless, which, again, speaks well to the timing to do it now at a lower cost.
Absolutely.
But anyway.
You know, it's been interesting, this process as far as parking structure. Actually, I think that as we went through our design and now we're in the beginning of construction on the county administration building, now to be able to come back, one, because we're going to need it, as Commissioner Cox said, but also it's given us a little more clear vision of maybe the campus look and where we should place it. And so I actually think now is probably the best time to proceed. I think we have a clearer idea of maybe some of the options we'd like them to consider in their design and as they go forward. Like we said, we're going to absolutely need it for the building. More than likely, if we proceed forward to construction, which is what this motion also is implying, that it would probably be constructed at the same time and prior to finishing our current administration building, which will also save costs on mobilization and whatnot. Now, the one downside to that is you think parking's tough now. Wait till we build a parking structure in the middle of the parking lot. We're going to ask for patience and cooperation from all of our county family and employees, and especially the public, as we look for different options to deal with that. So,
well, I think as you have noticed, and Leslie commented on how we work together in the county, well, some things just happen the right way. Of all the bidders on the new admin building, there were about 8 serious interested parties. Only about half of them in that section where we said talk about a parking structure, only even half of them even showed a number there or showed any interest, because it was just out of their realm. You know, they hadn't thought about it. The others that did put a number there, it was pretty broad spread, and of course eventually Watts Construction won the bid on the building, and therefore it implies, as Brian has indicated to us, that they could, you know, continue to build on, so to speak. Well, they've just finished a parking structure and knew what it took the design of it, et cetera. And then we already have the architect, as you said, to make our campus look like it all flows together and was planned, not haphazardly, but rather with some architectural features which preliminarily they have shown us in this building that might look like the new admin building. And therefore, just kind of turned out to be the right selection initially, and then eventually maybe it meant that this was going to be in the right hands. So having said that, I'm putting forward that we have a motion that reflects option 2, and yet I call for a motion on this particular item.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, if I understand, we have two options. Now this is design and then build would be secondary, because I think we wanted design to look at a couple options, and
Yes.
but then obviously,
Well, if they design it for number 2, we have all of our options in front of us for the
Yes.
final build. We
Exactly.
don't have to build everything, but at least it'll be designed.
be able to know. Well, absolutely. I think that's a good use of funds, and just to be able to make sure that we are exploring all of those options. So I'd like to make that motion that we adopt Resolution R-2021-2759, a resolution approving authorization to proceed letter to Watts Construction for design on the Washington County Administration building parking structure. That's my
With
motion.
option 2.
With option 2, yes.
Second.
Motion and a second for item 15. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Any commissioner reports?
Well, I think the big thing is next week's the Washington County Fair. This is kind of historic because we've had our fair well over 100 years, and it's kind of changed around a little bit, but this is first time in most of all of our lifetime that the fair will be in the spring opposed to in the summer. And so we're kind of encouraging, we're hoping that people will come out and take an advantage of it. I know that the weather will be a lot better. Maybe your biological clock isn't set for county fair yet because you start to sweat every time you think of the county fair in August, but the weather is going to be absolutely delightful, and it's going to be a great county fair. There's so many good things, and so I'd just like to encourage everybody to come out and celebrate Washington County. And that would be, that is the 14th to the 17th. So next Wednesday through Saturday.
Okay.
Super.
And the parade's on the 13th in Washington at 5 o'clock,
Yep.
I believe. Oh,
Very good. Anything else to report? If not, let me add that these meetings are rebroadcast daily on TDS cable channels 22 and 108 at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. They are also available on demand at youtube.com/community education channel. And we appreciate everyone who's been here, and this meeting is adjourned.